Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong, owner of the Los Angeles Times, is going to join us. You've heard me make this point before, both here and on Next Up. The nation doesn't have very many news organizations with economy of scale, with reach, with history and tradition to do what news organizations need to do. Two main things: hold powerful interests accountable to the public interest and explain the world in a compelling way to its audience. And I've said before, I doubt anybody's going to start a new one that reaches that scale. You've heard me say this about CBS News and how pleased I am that Barry Weiss is going to try to restore CBS to those two great traditions: hold all powerful interests accountable to the public interest and tell the great stories of our time. And in the case of the Los Angeles Times, we have one of the maybe a dozen, if you wanted to be generous, organizations that historically and currently have the capacity to do those important things at scale. Smaller independent media can do those things in a small way, but to be global in the reach and distribution, to do the kind of things that big organizations can do to hold powerful interests accountable to public interests, we don't have very many. And one of the few that we have is Los Angeles Times. So joining us now to talk about the news of the day, but also about the important developments with the Los Angeles Times and its growth as a brand, is my co-host on Cancer Decoded and someone who hasn't been with us in a while, so couldn't be more excited to have Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong back. Doctor, welcome back.
Thank you for having me, Mark. What a wonderful and exciting day it is.
Yeah, you were in the Middle East not too long ago with President Trump. People may have seen you on his trip. So talk about the through line from that trip you were on with a number of American leaders in all sorts of realms to today. What did you see on that trip that, again, where you see the continuity to what's happened now?
Well, I was with him during the time when we went to Saudi Arabia, when it was with MBS, and then we had the state dinner, and then from there we went to Qatar, and I was with him when he was the emir. I got to tell you, in that audience during that time when he gave the address in Saudi Arabia, and he mentioned what he was going to do for Syria even, which was again non-conventional, there was such an amazing positive response. So what you said in your opening here is completely correct. Here is a president that is not only unconventional, but really acts like a person who understands the world and truly strategically, like a businessman who has actually made a payroll and runs a payroll and understands how the world really works, made this happen. I mean, for years and years, this conflict is happening in the Middle East. There's real opportunity now to really have peace. So what he did then was actually, when we were talking to His Royal Highness MBS, was sharing how both the interests of the US and the Middle East were aligned. And there was this big conversation, and it's on Fox. Somebody actually picked it up, and it's on our X. And the same thing when we did in Qatar. So he truly is a man of peace. It may be difficult for left or right to really come together to understand that. But what he's done today is good for the world, good for humanity, good for the country.
What would you say to the people? I hear some people say the reason Donald Trump did this was the time was ripe, that this couldn't happen under President Biden or President Obama because the time wasn't ripe, as opposed to what President Trump's team says, which is he made the time right. How would you weigh in on that debate?
I would fully agree. I mean, you know, it's not hidden that I didn't approve of the action or inaction during the President Biden's administration, including Kamala Harris, and you know how we actually pulled out of Afghanistan and the absence of planning, etc., which really, in fact, reflected a non-real world knowledge of how the real world works and the issue of logistics and planning and everything. He made it right. He made the environment right by that trip. That trip was to Riyadh and to Doha, together with bringing together the Middle East leaders. He actually made the environment right. The way he sort of pushed both Israel and pushed the Hamas on both sides, he made that right. And I think it's really the art of strategically not negotiating, but putting them in a position that really this is in the interest of all. And I think a businessman understands how to do that kind of deal versus a career politician who really lives in a different kind of bubble, if I may say.
Yeah. So I want to pick up on that theme and transition to talking about you and what you're doing with the paper, or the brand of, I should say, the LA Times Media Group. So I grew up in Washington, D.C. My father worked in the government. I went to an Ivy League school. I've never lived anywhere but Boston, Washington, and New York. And despite that, I understand the age we're in, I believe. We're not in the age where we should trust the experts. Career diplomats never did what Donald Trump, Steve Witkoff, and Jared Kushner, not career diplomats, not people who grew up steeped in, the Council on Foreign Relations. They never did what those guys did. And then when I hear people criticize you or Barry Weiss, and they say, well, these aren't the standard types of people who have run media organizations before, so they're not experts, they couldn't do a good job. And I say, well, let's look at the record of the experts. They didn't do a good job. So now we turn to you and what you're doing with the LA Times Media Group. So exciting to me because you're bringing a perspective of someone, successful business person, iconoclast, who believes in quality journalism, but also believes that the old models aren't working. So tell people what you're doing in terms of content, and then tell people about what you're doing in terms of growing the paper's resources through investment. So start with the content. What is the LA Times Media Group doing now, not just with what people think about the newspaper, but with the overall brand and content range?
So, look, I think it was good that I didn't come from the old world of content, of what you consider real journalism is all about, because content means different things to different people. And that's what the first thing I recognized when we bought the paper. In order to get content, there could be content, what you're talking about, what we're talking about right now, very important global journalism with integrity and just the facts. But there's also content of opinions, meaning people can say, and you said don't put smack on X, and the ability for people to actually voice their, truly what they believe, I call that voices. But then you have this generation that actually gets their news on X, Facebook, TikTok, who wants to be engaged. What is their content as they scroll through their mobile phone? The mobile phone has changed the world. So in 2018, I recognized very early on that the what they call the content management systems, the software, was archaic in newspapers. That we will become and are now almost dinosaurs. That media currently, ABC and CBS, the current broadcast media, will become dinosaurs unless they adopt to the new way of engagement, delivering content in a physical way in which you want to absorb the content, whether it be on iPad, mobile phone, TV, broadcast, podcast, music, events, physical. And I realized that the infrastructure of the current newspapers, including New York Times, Washington Post, and the Los Angeles Times in 2018-19, didn't have that. So for 7 years, we've built that infrastructure.
And now, when you think about everything you're doing, it's the serious news of the again, what I call the newspaper, but it's also esports. It's also a range of content around people, all as you said, what different people are interested in. Now, explain to people the step you're taking in terms of an investment opportunity for folks who want to be part of owning a new style of news and information and entertainment organization.
So let me tell you what we've quietly been very methodically doing when we launched the what I call the app, the Los Angeles Times app, which has now become the Los Angeles Times Media Group app. You could press a button and be on Malibu Beach watching the ocean in real time. You could press a button and actually see the planes landing at LAX. You could press a button and you could be in Hollywood during last night. This weekend I was at Food Bowl, one of the biggest events. We will be live streaming that. The opportunity for us to be at the book festival, which is the largest book festival in the country that we run, and that's an event. You could be in the podcast room like we are doing now, and you could hear that on the button. In order to make all of that available in real time, and I mean real time, you needed a content management system, which we call Graphene. So I built that infrastructure. We built that infrastructure. And what we're doing now is streaming. Right next door to me is an LA Times studio where we're doing a travel show right now. So all of this content independent separately from the integrity of news. And as you said, looking at today's events, we are now becoming a very, very small in terms of global community. Everything that's happening in geopolitics affects all of us, all the way down to United States, all the way down to California. So we need to get some international content as well as some US-based content at the journalism level. So what we've done, in short, we've taken 4 brands: the Los Angeles Times Newsroom, Los Angeles Times Studio that actually runs events, that runs podcasts, that runs live streaming, runs cameras, the Nance Studio, which is this most sophisticated LED volume that has TV quality, movie quality production for advertisers. And then finally, gaming, all the way to esports gaming, from crossword puzzles to interactive gaming, where both events as well as the actual gaming itself. And then finally, we become a publisher, not just of the news, but a publisher of e-games, a publisher of journals down the road. So this is where, this is truly, in my mind, a whole media platform, a media group. And we've made these investments, almost $1 billion, is $750 million of investment over 7 years for this day. But a lot of these technologies are now available even on your app as we speak today. The other thing that we wanted to do, Mark, was to make sure that we can democratize this. We wanted people to be able to invest and be part owners of this. So we've launched join.latimes.com. If you go to join.latimes.com, you will see the ability for somebody to invest today, even with a credit card, and be part of this as we lead our way to a public offering.
So when people go to the website and invest, what are they investing in? Are they investing in journalism or a media company? Are they helping the public by doing this? How would you describe the opportunity for people in terms of both financial and possibility, but also in terms of public service, helping the public interest?
Yeah, we didn't want this to be a philanthropic investment. We think the LA Times Media Group is a business, and it's a new platform. It's a studio. It's a news studio. It's an entertainment studio. It's a music studio. So we wanted the public to have the ability to take part of this in some form of ownership. And there's this thing called Reg A where when we go public, you can invest as small as $50, so $5. So as opposed to having just large private equity and institutions buy big blocks, the opportunity really is to truly democratize and everybody feel they're part ownership and also part of the growth as we grow this platform.
Right. So again, folks, just to conclude this, even on this huge news day, we want to take the opportunity to let here's an opportunity to be part of what we all know is necessary, to invest in a big new idea about media, entertainment, accountability, information. What we all know we need: quality companies that are going to try to make sense of the world for us. We all know we need them. We all know we need some big ones, not just independents. Here's an opportunity to be part of that. So, Doctor, couldn't be more grateful to you for making time to explain it. Give people the URL one more time.
So it's join.latimes.com.
Yeah. And again, if you believe, as I do, in the future of news and information and people who are quality owners, become a quality owner, become a part owner of something that's aspiring to do what so few places are still trying to do: make sense of the world, entertain, inform, explain in a way that requires some scale. We look forward to having you back and keeping talking about it. And again, I every time I read any of the information you guys are putting out, I'm so excited about how new this is. Digital first, video first, information first, quality first. We need more of it, and I'm grateful to you for being a leader in this area.
Thank you, Mark.
Cozy Earth, I went to the Packers game, first time to Lambeau Field this weekend, and my friend who came with me had bought his first pair of Cozy Earth pants based on the recommendations I've made here, and he wore them to the game. He hadn't worn them. He brought them with him to Green Bay, and he took them out and he put them on for the game, and Basically, it was a big mistake on my part because he didn't talk much about the game. He just talked about the pants. Cozy Earth pants. He said, "These, Mark, you undersold these. So comfortable." Same with the sheets. Now he's going to go buy the sheets because he said, "If their pants are this good, I have to assume, Mark, you're right about the sheets." Comfortable stuff. It's comfortable. Keeps you cool when you want to be cool. Keeps you warm when it's cold. It wasn't cold at the game, by the way. It was warm. Also, the bubble cuddle blanket, also available now. All of these things can be purchased on the Cozy Earth website, cozyearth.com, for 20% off if you use the code two-way. Go to cozyearth.com. Buy the pants, the sheets, the blankets. It's all good stuff because home isn't just where you live, it's how you feel. Let's go home with Cozy Earth, all available now. They say that something that's easy is like a walk in the park. Well, easier than a walk in the park, hit the subscribe button, be part of the two-way community, never miss an episode, be part of our conversations. Thank you for your service to America. And don't forget, you can now listen to the morning meeting and two-way tonight on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.